The dream process is a very, very major and significant part of this training, because what are dreams but the dance of the selves? Okay? They're the dance of the primary selves, and they're the dance of the disowned selves. And they're extremely valuable because they give you a picture of what is in balance and what is out of balance. Now, if you don't remember dreams, don't worry about it. It's not, there are plenty of ways to work with consciousness without dreams. But since an increasing number of people around pay attention to dreams, and also since listening to dream material affects people and it hits you quite deeply, and then people start dreaming, we wanted to take a little bit of time to consider this dream process. Dreams are pictures that come to us while we're sleeping. Since we're sleeping, we aren't awake. That's a profound
That's
statement.
really deep. I like that.
And since we're not awake, we're living in some other level of reality than our ordinary reality. So it means then that these pictures that come to us are coming from a different level of reality than the one that we're used to when we're awake. The technical name, or the generic name that we give to this other level of reality, is the unconscious. Some people refer to it as the subconscious. From our perspective, those are just differences in the depth of the different reality. Ordinary reality, subconscious reality, unconscious reality. Unconscious reality then can also exist at many, many different levels. So some of these pictures that come to us and bring scenes that are very, very personal, very much related to our everyday life. Others begin to tap into much, much deeper levels of other realities, and they may deal then with all kinds of mythological themes, or what has been termed archetypal motifs in dreams. So these pictures then extend from very surface levels of ordinary reality to very, very deep and profound levels of realities that go beyond really anything we know about in our ordinary reality. I saw a man once who was a physician. He had disowned in his life and in his marriage. He had 2 children. Everything that had to do with sexuality, and he was just identified with being a nice person and very responsible. And I saw him, he practically crawled into my office. He'd gone to a minister first, and the minister sent him to me. And he had fallen in love with a woman exactly 9 months before, a very sensual, sexual woman, completely the opposite from himself and his wife, no scruples whatsoever. And he had given up his practice, he'd given up his life over that 9-month period, and when he had nothing, and I mean nothing, he lost his marriage, he lost his medical practice, he lost all his money, and when she was finished, she left him. And he came to see me. I asked him if he remembered any dreams, and he remembered a dream that he had the night that he met her at a party. And the dream was that he's standing in his house behind glass windows, and in the field is a bull, a black, gigantic bull. And he looks at the bull, and the bull says, and he says, the bull wouldn't charge me. And he's trying to read the bull's mind, but the bull lowers its head and charges and destroys his house. And that was the night that he met the woman. And what is the bull? It's all of the disowned selves, all of the disowned instinctual energy that had built up in the unconscious of this man for years and years and years and years, and took over. So disowned selves affect our life all the time, just all the time, and create havoc. Why do children dream of monsters attacking them all the time? Why is that such a common dream in children? What's the primary self of most of us as children, and of most children, that requires the unconscious to have them attacked all the time by monsters? Why is that so common? What's the primary self? Pleaser. We have to make children nice at some level. It's a question of how extreme that process is. But the monster dream is the natural, we call it the natural compensation or balancing of the unconscious to a primary self that has become too positive and too over-socialized. So you see what the psychology of selves gives you once you begin to sense into it? It gives you a way of understanding dreams very quickly. I'm also very, very interested in this issue of the disowned instinctual energies because they cause so much mischief. And when these instinctual energies are disowned, you know, they get projected onto the world, onto people in the world, and they become the bad guys. But one very, very funny one was a woman in England that worked with us in one of our workshops, and she had a dream that, well, she was a New Age person. She went to all the workshops, and she was very spiritual and very loving and very caring. And unfortunately, the New Age movement is a little bit unbalanced in terms of the disowning of the instinctual energies. In her dream, she walked down into the basement of her home. And as she walked down into this basement, there were cages filled with tigers and lions, all the wild animals of the jungle, and they were all asleep, listening to New Age music. That the New Age music had put them to sleep. That doesn't make New Age bad. It just means that it's not balanced. What the unconscious does that's so beautiful is it doesn't say that this is bad. It simply says it's unbalanced. So what a dream like this forces her to do is to pay attention to, what am I doing? How am I unbalanced? How are my lions and tigers being lulled to sleep in this way?
So what did the lions and tigers hold for her in a practical sense?
Well, it would be her ability to meet life and to growl, to make noise, to be aggressive, to be assertive, to be selfish, to not be conscious all the time. You see, what someone like this does is they define consciousness as being loving. And consciousness isn't being loving. Consciousness is being everything, you see. So when loving becomes your goal and unconditional loving becomes your goal, then the whole instinctual sphere gets left out. It gets put to sleep. So the dream is really a perfect image of that.
So all those people who are trying to be loving may very well have a basement full of lions and tigers.
They do. There's no question about it. And you can usually tell. You get a certain feel about the person. I'll give you another example. Many, many years ago, I was doing a group for a group of ministers, and one of the ministers had the following dream. And he had a dream that he was trying to wrestle a drunk penis into a cold shower. Remarkable dream. Now, when he started out, you know, at the age of 2 or 3, his penis wasn't drunk, it was just a penis. And there was no need to wrestle it any place. It was a natural symbol of his sexuality and masculinity and assertiveness. But since he was trained in a family that saw sexuality as something that took him away from God, again, the impulse for God is there all the time in these situations. They, of course, trained him that sexuality was bad and instinctuality was bad and so forth and so on. So what happened then is that he focused on other things. He paid attention to religion. He paid attention to all aspects of spiritual life. And, of course, with the spiritual movement, he became a part of that also. But gradually, the sexuality went underground, and it began to go out of control. And as it started to go out of control, he had to fight it even more. And pretty soon, it's a totally drunk penis that's so out of control, and now he's trying to wrestle it into a cold shower. And if he hadn't sought help when he did, his sexuality would, in fact, have gone out of control, and he could have gotten into very serious trouble. There are consequences to this kind of repression.